Good afternoon. It is 12 o'clock, January the 18th, 2022. This is the Historic Preservation Board meeting. I don't have the gavel. Thank you. Now that I have the gavel, the meeting is called to order. Okay. Item A, administer the oaths of office to newly reappointed members.
We took care of the Denison before the meeting.
Well, thank you. Okay, so you're legal now? Okay, item number 2, items for individual consideration. Citizens may speak on action items listed on the agenda. A request to speak card should be completed and returned to the city clerk or board secretary prior to the board reaching this section of the agenda. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise required by law. Comments related to public hearings, if any, will be heard when the specific hearing is called. Item A, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on December 7th, 2021 and January 4th, 2022 meeting minutes. Any comments or adjustments?
Yes, sir. The minutes for December 7th say that the meeting was called to order at 10:03. I'm assuming that's 12:03, so if the minutes could reflect that change, then I vote that we approve it.
A second.
And this is just for the January, for the December meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are accepted as written, except for that one change. The January meeting. Any changes or comments?
I move that the January minutes be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the minutes are approved. Moving on to item B, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to remove the existing cedar roof and replace with a bronze metal roof, rebuild the front porch, and replace the front door and windows at 618 West Woodard. Case number 2022-003H. Ms. Dow?
So that's the picture of what the building looks like right now. And we do have the property owner, Mr. Oden, here to speak when we go through this. The cedar shake roof was added at a later date. It's not original to the building. That's the original photograph. So as you can tell, that brick was added at some point also. You may notice the construction of the building, the porch, they're wanting to go back like that. And then the roof points. And that is the shingle and the color that they would like to use. This is just a drawing to showcase what their request was. And that's an overhead. So, you know, as Chairman Mason said, they want to remove this existing cedar roof, replace with I think the bronze metal, is that, okay, that's changed to the
We're looking at a
yes.
composite shingle.
Yes, thank you. And then they would like to rebuild the front porch. They're requesting to replace the front door and windows and keep the same paint color. So I'll let Mr. Oden go over what his plans are and then answer any questions.
Okay, very good.
Scale the back We would like permission to do the door, the front door, a black business door. The old single, tear that down. And we don't know what we're gonna get into with that original porch. So I'm assuming it's cut off, will have to be rebuilt. I've got some pictures of a porch I saw that I really liked. So we'll probably do, it's on a house that was being built, something like that. If you see the original pictures, you can see the old porch.
Okay.
We're not gonna increase the size or anything, we're just gonna, with that cedar up there, we don't know what got tore down, what needs to be replaced.
Okay, will you be taking off that whole facade that's put on there? It's kind of like a partial mansard roof. So are you just planning on removing the shingles? The whole thing? Okay, so you're gonna go back to the original roof line? Okay. No, it's okay.
So the whole mansard roof comes off?
Yeah, that's what I call it, it's kind of a fake
Yeah.
sheet.
I have a question. The new door, is that a single pane, metal frame?
That's what I was thinking of,
And what's the rationale for doing a door that's so modern on
I
a
get-
building that's not?
I get tired of people coming to the door, I get tired of people coming to the door and knocking.
Do you think they'd knock less if it was a single?
I would
pane?
hope so, it would look more like a business. We have a sign that says office, but just last week, somebody came up and knocked. And then we waved them, come on in. Man, this would look more like a business, that's the purpose of the new modern door. And we're not gonna change the windows, we're gonna leave the windows the way they are.
The frames will be painted black like the door.
I really didn't put the color for the approval of black windows, so that's not in the request. I wasn't gonna do anything with my colors, they were approved years ago by the committee. Mainly, I just need a roof that doesn't leak.
Well, I have an issue with the door. I don't know how my fellow members feel about that.
I just know up and down Main, most of them are black. I just know up and down Main, there's a lot of doors, like what we're looking for, they're black framed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not on something that's primarily and formerly a residence, however.
Yeah. They're business buildings.
Do you have a
Any-
picture of the door that you're wanting to use?
As I was walking down streets recently, I can find it.
Okay, so like a commercial doors, glass all the way down.
That's fine.
I think it just makes it look more like an office.
Okay.
Because, like I say, over the years, we've had people come knock. Kind of embarrassing.
I'm just wondering what would happen if you put a sign on the glass, like a painted sign saying what the business is, rather than,
Well, you can't see it, but it says office hours, office.
oh, right, okay,
So right over the door, there is a sign.
yeah.
It says office hours. The door's not that important to us. If y'all don't want to approve it, I just thought it would help our business a little bit more. Mainly, I need a roof. It's the original roof from when Dad bought it in the 70s.
Well, what you're planning to do with the roof, I think is gonna be an improvement. The only problem I'm hearing from my co-board members is the door. Probably, any chance that you could put a door with a piece of glass in it, similar to what you have now, or that diamond pattern you have now is pretty much a residential pattern.
We could look at that, changing out to a wooden door with one single panel.
Donna, what do we do about that? Does that matter?
I don't think the door, it's not the original door, is it?
I would doubt it. It could be. We've never changed it since the 70s.
It's not a contributing structure, correct, in the district?
I would not think so.
I think so, since it's brick.
Our survey didn't go up to
No.
there, it didn't include that building, and, it's had the, I apologize, it's had a, brick, facade added, and so that would mean that it wouldn't be.
Yeah. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we definitely approve the roof today, so you can get started on that. Do we want to have a modification to the door as a, I'd like table the door until we can see a different approach?
I think we can go ahead and approve the whole thing. I think this is probably an all or
This
none.
is gonna be a,
Yeah, and he did just specify a door.
and I understand that you're a business and it won't ever, I mean, you know, it's not gonna be returned to residential zoning, so I make a motion that we approve it.
I
Approve
second.
the roof and the door.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then it is approved.
Hey, great. Thank you.
sir. Okay, moving along. Item C. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to add signage, add a black awning with lettering and business logo, and paint the front door Pantone 806C pink at 421 West Main, case number 2022-004H. Ms. Dow.
This is a new business coming to 421 West Main. The property owner will be the business owner as well. And she is on a plane returning from a trip right now, and so she's got a representative here to answer any questions and address anything. They are looking at adding signage to the top of the building, which would be the logo and the name of the boutique. The detail shows that to be channel lettering with a plexiglass face and internally lit. And our sign standards do not permit internally lit signs. So this is the side detail of it. And then the size, it's 23 inches tall on the lettering and 16 feet long. And then they also would like to have a black awning that would be 24.5 feet long, which is the width of the building. And then it's 7.5 feet tall. Let's see. I think that would be 6.5 feet tall. And it would project from the building 4 feet. This just shows the sign ordinance. They're actually asking for a wall sign, which is the lower information here. And it just says wall signs in the historic overlay area must be externally illuminated. And then this is the color. 806C is the number. I think probably we didn't have a name on that, you know, like pretty pink or anything, so I just addressed it as pink.
Is that in the new deck as a
That
trim
is
color?
not, that is just a color that they have
It is not in
proposed.
the new deck as a trim color.
Right, right,
Thank you. I have another question.
okay.
The awning covering the front of the building covers up those two medallions. And I'm wondering what's the vintage of the medallions? I looked at Brian's photograph and I couldn't tell. So there's the awning. And if we look at the present, there's
That
the
one.
medallions.
I am not certain if those are original. Do you know if they are?
I
You
haven't heard
can-
any information.
You can,
I haven't heard anything on if they're historic or not.
you can identify yourself.
My name is Kalen Westmoreland. I'm representing Melissa Poxa. I'm not sure of the history of that either, the Saints marks or whatever they stand for. We haven't heard anything ourselves. I mean, we would love to find out if we could, though.
Are those windows glass or?
They're light tin, I believe aluminum.
And they
I believe at one point in time it used to be a window and they were broken, and this was the choice that they had to cover those two windows.
Is it used for lighting internally?
Maybe at one point in time, the other top four in between those two medallions, they do work. They're glass windows. They do work. I think at some point in time, the two tin medallions must have been put over it to replace those broken glass.
Maybe.
Good possibility.
I'm a little concerned that the size of the sign plus the size of the awning comprises more than the 20% area that's permitted for signage on a building.
What he's referring to, the sign ordinance allows for a sign to take up 20% of the building.
20%.
And so he's concerned that that's more than 20%.
Okay. We certainly want to run that to the specs that's required. We can downsize that for sure. That was just a rough sketch of the guidelines that was provided for us for the program.
Do you have any questions for him?
I have three issues.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to table this for three reasons.
Okay.
One, the internally lit sign has to be reworked.
Okay.
So automatically, that would be tabled in and of itself.
Okay.
Clearly, the proportion of sign to building needs
Yes,
to be addressed.
Okay.
Pantone pink as a trim color
Yes, ma'am.
needs to be addressed.
Okay.
And once again, I want to know about those medallions.
Yes, ma'am.
And I personally would rather see some other sort of awning, and once again, you'll see those down the street,
Yes, ma'am.
that preserve the clear story windows
Okay.
above the awning, which
Yes, ma'am.
means the awning would come out essentially straight from the building as
Yes, ma'am.
opposed to covering up the windows.
Okay.
So in essence, at least from my point of view, all three of the things that are being asked are not acceptable.
Okay.
And I would think that tabling for all three,
Yes, ma'am.
but certainly at least for two.
Okay. That'd be fine.
Is there a time crunch on this?
Our opening day is scheduled for February 1st of this year. It's 2 weeks from now.
Well, a sign couldn't be fabricated in 2 weeks
Probably
anyway,
not.
and a neon sign,
I believe.
the investment in that shouldn't be made.
Yes, ma'am. I believe it doesn't need to reflect on our opening day. I believe we could still open up that day on February 1st and acquire these things at a later date. Would be just fine with us too.
I agree with what my co-member says.
Yes, sir.
I'd prefer to see an awning similar to what you see over here at Sparrow's Gallery, which
Yes,
is a
sir.
flat awning.
Yeah, it's straight with cables holding, or cables or
And
struts holding it.
Tastefully has the name of the gallery across the top of it.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Okay.
and looking at the awning next to it too at 419,
Yeah,
it's more narrow.
Mhm.
or if that has
And
a
if,
little
you
bit
know,
of a
if you-
rise.
If the owner wants to go with a cloth awning, and I think at 419 that's what that is,
Okay.
that might be a little more appropriate to go
Okay.
with one that size. And I don't know how that will interfere with her logo
Yes, sir.
And the verbiage is across the front of the awning, but that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Sounds good with us?
And you can just reapply,
Yeah.
and we have a meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, she'll be back tomorrow. That'll work out great
Okay.
too, so. we
Thank
can do
you.
that.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think I need a motion to table that.
I'll get you.
I
Mr.
make,
oh, Go ahead.
we'll make a motion that we table the request of the changes to the building. Where's the address?
421 West Main.
421 West Main.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the item is tabled.
We'll need to put a date on that. Did you want to table it till the first meeting in February or another date?
I'd say the first meeting in February.
Sounds like
Okay.
they'll be ready.
Okay,
to
perfect, thanks.
And Fenton, obviously, if they're not going to be ready, then we'll push it back
Push
to the
it.
one after that, but clearly, we'll be ready.
Okay. You gentlemen will probably be next. Item D, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to add signage, demolish a previous addition, and create a new addition to the north side of the building, replace windows, fill in some window and door openings, and perform extensive remodeling at 404 West Woodard, case number 2022-005H. Ms. Dow.
And that is 401 West Woodard.
I'm sorry, 401.
Just make sure in case it matters in the official record. So we have a multifaceted approach to this, and we have a crew that is here to discuss it with us, but I'll just run through the information that I do know at the first. This is the existing building. Of course, the dignity is not apparent at this point, but that's a pretty accurate picture, and I think the sign's been removed. Is that accurate? The sign over on the side?
No, it's still there, but
Still
it's
there.
gonna be removed.
Okay. And then this is from the back. This is a current picture. You can see that some of the bricks from the upper, above the garage door are at the base there. And these are some historic photographs of the building that you can see some of the features and how additions have been made in the past. One of them, number 2, was only a pen and ink drawing on early stationery of the business. It's pretty interesting. And the good news is the Turrentine, I'll let y'all say the official name of it, but we'll be opening the facility that Bratcher vacated. So we're very fortunate to have them here. And then this is another elevation. You can see the Bratcher sign there, and then I was able to get some more detail on that. I'm not sure it was in your packet, but it is on the presentation. And again, this was in your packet. On this side, you can see under the portico that there is a door, and then above that, possibly another door that is being bricked in by request. And then this is the sign. I'm not sure that this sign doesn't meet our ordinance. I think we'd need to ask some more questions about that. It doesn't say that it can be lit, just not like, internally lit. So it even says internally backlit, so I just think it needs some clarification. And then it shows more detail on it. And then these are the materials that they will be using as shown, and then the colors that they are proposing the windows. So some of the guidelines, we made a link in the packet that took you to our design guidelines, and those are based on the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. And two of the specific things, number 2 is the character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alterations of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. And then number 9, I believe, it talks about new additions. And I didn't personally see anything, I believe that they're abiding by number 9 in their additions, but that's just personal opinion. You may have studied it more and seen something that you can ask about. Retain distinguishing features is something that is advised. And then, again, design compatible additions and constructions, which I felt like that they had accomplished. The character defining features of traditional buildings should be retained. Collectively, these features are the building blocks that define the unique character and context of neighborhoods and districts, as well as the identity of a city as a whole. Typical character defining features include, but are not limited to, original wall materials, decorative cornices, pilasters and columns, vertically aligned upper story windows, larger first floor openings, and trim around the openings. Again, retain the character defining features. This was just mentioned various times. That's why it's in there more than once. Specifically, in a replacement window, use materials that appear similar to the original. So normally you would repair the window if possible. And then if replacing, this is the guidance. Do not substitute materials that could have an adverse effect on the traditional building, evident by the changed size of the window frame, profile, and detailing. In some cases, a substitute material may be appropriate on secondary facade if the appearance of the window components will match those of the original in dimension, profile, detail, and finish. Match replacement window designs and materials to original materials, dimensions, detail, form, and finish. And then doors and entrances. The entrance to a building and its traditional door are important elements of the architectural composition of the facade. The placement of an entrance is usually arranged as part of a pattern of openings in the building facade. The entrance and door are usually designed as key elements of the architectural style of the building, with the design often reflecting the function of the building. Retain the decorative and functional features of a primary entrance. Avoid changing the position and function of original front doors and primary entrances. In a warehouse or industrial building, the primary entrance may also include loading docks or bays, both at ground level and above. B, maintain features important to the character of a traditional doorway. These may include the door, frame, screen door, threshold, glass panes, paneling, hardware, detailing, transoms, and flanking side lights. And then retain original or early doors important to the character of the building, including loading dock doors. Maintain original size, shape, proportion, and profile. Retain original materials, hardware, and details. So, in summary, they're requesting to add business signage in the form of a wall sign to the front of the building. The applicant is requesting to demo the previous addition at the back, north side of the building, and replace with new addition to match the existing structure. The applicant is requesting to replace the windows and change a door to a window on the front of the building and block in a door and window on the west side, and then extensive remodeling as described. And so I would think now is a good time to allow our applicant to describe more in detail and answer any questions. Do you have anything of me before they come up?
No, I appreciate you giving us all that background information. It's
I was
very
about
helpful.
to say the same.
I spent a lot of time going over this over the weekend and even this morning, and I came across a lot of those items, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Rachel helped a lot with it, and we didn't create this for that case, but our guidance alluded specifically to this case, and so
This is
hopefully
from the
they
Sec-
can.
I'm sorry, this is from the Secretary of the Interior's page?
This is from our design guidelines,
Okay.
our locally adopted design guidelines.
Okay.
And so it is based on guidance from the Secretary of Interior standards, but it has more information and preferences and things like that.
Thank you.
Would y'all like to come up and speak to it and answer questions and anything?
Thank you for how professionally the packet was prepared.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Griffiths with JST Architects, and we put together that package to indicate some of the remodeling and changes that we wanted to make to the structure. Primarily on the left-hand side, we were extending the load-out carport so we could successfully take a casket down and load it in the back of a hearse. And that's, so the canopy is basically just getting extended by another 18 or 20 feet, so we can do that with an additional ramp. Across the back, we've designed an addition for a prep and dress facility and an interior ramp to bring in clients and then bring them into that safe area for flowers too. And so we've matched the roof lines for that design addition to match the existing roof line. The front porch, we've actually taken and removed the two independent front porches and created one contiguous front porch with a canopy across the front that's a thin 11 or 12-inch canopy that'll be lit from below and then supported with the iron rods back to the masonry structure. We've indicated some of the trim colors, roof colors. We're not painting the brick, but we are going to repoint some of the dark mortar that's been patched over the last few years as some of the sprinkler heads have kind of washed that out. And then, all of the blue canopies will be removed, and then we have a new staircase off to the right-hand side of the porch. We are going to replace the front door with a wood stained door, and I have a sample here with me, but it'll be a traditional multi-pane door that will have some trim on the sides of it. Currently, when you walk up to the door, there's pilasters there that really don't meet ADA, and so you cannot, well, there's a metal door that's a screen door or a storm door that was applied to the front main door, and so we are going to make that an ADA entrance because we're making it a wider 3'6" door, and 8 foot tall to make it a little bit grander on that front porch. And then we also are adding a ramp to the left-hand side as we exit the porch on the left. And we were thinking that we were going to have internally backlit letters that'll be channel set to have a little glow at night for Bratcher, but if we need to reapply that and rethink that signage, we could reconsider that and do something else. And it's just hard to set it back and then face light it to see the letters up there. So it's not going to be a bold sign, but we need to get a little bit of glow there with some warm LED lighting. Yeah, somewhere in the 2700 Kelvin rating, but not to that hospital 5000 Kelvin. Yeah.
And as you know from listening to the prior presentation, the internally lit is the part that is
Right.
troublesome, and neon is, but you're not talking about neon.
No, I'm not talking about
I don't think
neon,
it'll
I'm
be
talking
very
about a little
appropriate for you to
LED.
use.
Yeah, no.
So,
Could we get the picture of the building again, please?
How are you proposing to light that that sign? Run that by me again?
We had called out on our application to do all individually channeled set letters with lights behind there, so it'd have a nice glow at night. But since I heard the last application, we're gonna have to rethink that, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And we are also going to replace all the windows with the same style and size. And we were going to request the change of the color to I guess we considered a luxury bronze that Jelwin makes.
Are these going to be a vinyl clad or metal clad?
Metal clad, wood inside.
Are these the original wood sashes?
No, they're not. They left some of the old sashes in and all the weights in there, and then they put in a much more inexpensive window inside that space. And so some of those old frames are still there across the front and down the left side. I'm not sure. The right side is a newer addition where the sign is over there. That's the new addition. And so, but all of the old windows, they left a lot of the old framing in and then just put in
But
a
the
little bit of
windows
a
are
smaller.
The old windows are gone, so there's not much chance of you restoring them.
No, because they've had metal clad over them for probably 30 or 40 years too, so.
These are metal sashes that we're looking at right now.
These are metal sashes that are covering the wood, yeah, and so they look a lot less expensive and not as tastefully done because they just bend and break metal and then it's just face nailed in place. But the window that we're gonna select will have an architectural sight line to it, yes, and then the divided lights like that. And if we needed to submit shop drawings for those windows from Joe, and we could do that. So y'all can see that profile, because I know the profile will be important.
The door that's on the west side above the portico, is that going to be replaced by a window, or are you bricking it up?
We were going to remove it and brick it. And it kind of just drops off onto a porch, and I'm not sure why they had it in the first place. It was,
Look
yep,
at the,
right there.
if you look at the picture of the building the way it was originally, there was a low wall around the top of the portico.
Okay, so there was a little bit of a balustrade or some sort of, or a parapet.
Yes.
And so that probably was a residence at one time, because never a residence?
No.
In our packet, we were told that the building opened in 1939 and that it has always been a funeral home.
Oh, right, but sometimes what they would do is they would open up the main floor,
Oh,
and then they would have
live as
like
well.
an apartment up above. And if that was an apartment, I could see that they could walk
Could
out
access
onto
from
that.
there.
Yeah, we had a
Right.
funeral home in my hometown up in Pennsylvania that was like that.
Yeah. So a long time ago, they used to have some family or some employee live there
Right.
all the time, yeah. And
We were
that
all
was,
hesitant to date his daughter.
yeah, yeah.
Let the minutes reflect.
Yep. So I can answer any questions and see where,
Well, is there a reason why it chose not to put a window in place of the door on the west side?
I don't believe so. I mean, we could put another window there. It wouldn't make a big, I think that we didn't have a reason for the door to remain there, and there was a water issue with water coming into the structure, and so we were just trying to circumvent that water.
All right. I'm really sorry to see the details on the entry doors going away.
As, as far as the,
The front facade,
How
the
about the
south
doors?
side of the building.
Mhm.
That added a lot of character to that building, and of course, it's part of the original features. And I understand why you're doing it. I think it's, you want to put that awning in to protect your patrons.
we do. And we could establish some other trim around the front door And it may not have this pediment, but it could have some entablature across the top and then pilasters and detail of the same sort to kind of highlight the front door. But the door with its pilasters, it does make it difficult for somebody with a wheelchair to open the door because you can't get to the recessed portion because there's not enough pull on the swing. But if you wanted me to resubmit another package on the front door and the detail of the trim around that door, and it could be stained just like the rest of the door.
Ms. Dow, I'm sorry, George.
No, go right ahead.
Ms. Dow, are there other issues as far as materials or whatever that you think we need to consider specifically since you're gonna be coming back with some revisions anyway?
It was multifaceted, and so I hesitate to say no, but I don't recall any specifically. I think you guys have addressed everything.
I don't see any way, considering what you want to do with the front, I'm not sure how we can retain the doorways as they were originally. I'd like to see them kept that way, if at all possible.
The reason why we took out the door to the chapel is that you can't maintain privacy when a family is in there. And so when you come in the front door and you've eliminated that entrance there, you don't have people walking in right into the chapel. And so if you lock the doors from the outside, then you're sending another message too, because of they're on that porch. Yeah. And so a lot of funeral homes, that a door being right there into the chapel eliminates a lot of privacy for if somebody arrives late and they can't come in a side area and then be seated appropriately. But you don't want them to come in 15 minutes late and come right into the back of the chapel.
Have you had an engineer address the installation of that awning? To see whether or not
We are looking at that right now, and so we would actually remove some of the surfaces on the back side on the second floor and then reinforce the wood framing there to support that.
So you have addressed that.
Yes.
And you're removing the windows from the north side, correct? I don't see how you can avoid doing that with the addition you're putting on.
Right.
What are you doing with the air conditioning, the heating and air conditioning units that were back there?
The air conditioning units are going to be in the attic of the addition, so we can have the same pitch to match the existing roof line and everything. And then in that attic space above the prep and dress and ramp and flower receiving area, we can house the air conditioning systems to cool those areas.
All right.
Yeah, we currently have a permit for the inside, and Donna asked us to put a package together for this outside, and then, but I know that we cannot submit another set of drawings to the city for the back portion until you say the back portion is matching the same style and architecture.
Any other comments or questions?
The door on the front. I'm looking at the drawing, and I certainly respect the necessity for the privacy of the people that are in the chapel. However, one could looking at this drawing, one could go into the door to the vestibule, still go out to the lobby and enter from the lobby as you had imagined. And then also everybody could, or some people could exit from what doesn't exist as a door now.
Right. And, we're building the vestibule for that additional privacy and to quiet down the people that do come in, because right now it doesn't have that vestibule.
But it doesn't preclude another door. Or retaining a second door, as
Right.
Mr. Mason mentioned.
It does not preclude that, no. It just adds another access point, yes.
Right.
Scott, did you want to mention anything about it?
No, just with that, you know, because that foyer, tell them how we're gonna furnish it and make it really nice for visitation at night. You know, where people that don't wanna go down to the front can visit there. We wanted to put a nice front porch where people can visit out front, you know, and then have access around to the side where they're parking. You know, and it just kinda controls everybody coming in where, you know, we can take them in to sign the register book and things like that.
I think you have addressed everything, but Linda, you mentioned something that made me wonder, the exit. So, and this is not something that I know about or this group would be particularly concerned about specifically, but the exits, like if you've got that front door as it exists now, there's a way to exit with a certain number of people
Right.
in the chapel. And so I'm just mentioning that you might want to check that out, because even if it did get past this group, the building department would look at that, and you may already have looked at that. And
I have looked at that. We have two exits on the left-hand side, the front door that's being enlarged, and then we have another back exit in the new addition. So we have 4 exits. And, yeah, and
so you've likely are covered. I just didn't.
I think, yeah, when you divide the amount of people by the calculation, we have enough capacity to handle people that are in the building safely.
So I'm still really sorry to see that door, that entry doorway go away, along with the trim that's around it. But the awning, if you go with the awning, there's no other way to do it.
I think the trim around the existing front door, we could emulate that. It may not have a pediment on it, but it may have a different type of a flatter corbelling on the top of it as opposed to a sweep with a peak.
But then on the other hand, I appreciate your need to comply with ADA standards. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Donna, again, is this a contributing building?
No, we have not found it in one of the existing surveys. So I would think that it would qualify for contributing, but I'm not sure that it was included in the survey. We couldn't document that.
I've looked through the survey, it's not in there. So, at the time that was done, it was not considered to be part of the historic district. So that had changed later. And I guess a new survey has not been done, so it's considered non-contributing. Any more questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. And I have all the samples over here in case you need to see
Oh,
them.
thank you so much.
We noticed that.
Thank you.
Someone like to make a motion?
The applicant's already comfortable with tabling apropos to the sign, yes?
Say that again?
I believe that we've already reached a conclusion that we were going to revisit the signage on the front of the building, correct?
Correct.
Then, Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate to table it in toto because we know it's coming back for the sign anyway? Or is there something that's time critical other than the sign?
I think that it's, and Donna, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's time critical. You gentlemen are already in progress, aren't you?
Yes, sir, we are.
Which you probably shouldn't have been, but.
But on the inside there, we are, and it is time critical for the back if we could,
Right.
so that we can move forward with everything.
And I assume you're not doing business while this is in operation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's kind of critical to get
They get
the
back in business.
business up and running.
So you're saying the back, so the left-hand portion of
The
this?
left hand that's lighter, and then also, while the framers are there, if the carport could be framed at the same time. But mainly it's the back addition where the prep and dress and ramp is being redesigned.
So I am aware that the building department allowed them to continue on the inside as long as they didn't make any changes to the exterior. So if you wanted to approve some of it, you can, or whatever you choose to
Can we
do.
make a motion with the idea that they are going to change the way they're lighting the sign?
A motion could be made with that one condition, correct?
Right. Fanchon, I'm looking to you to make sure.
You would, I guess, if we wanted to move the project forward as is, but without the internal lit, that could be, so whatever, I would assume that would be okay. That if it's internally lit, that's the issue, or maybe
Okay.
externally lit, if you want to say that it must be externally lit.
Or if you wanted to hold off on the front but improve the back addition, I think I'm hearing them say that would help because there's a lot of framework that has to be done and those trades are on site.
We could get everything but the sign, don't you think? Just to revisit just the sign.
Mr. Mason, do you want to revisit the doors on the front, or are you comfortable with the drawings as presented?
I think I'm comfortable considering it's non-contributing building. And I don't see a way to resolve
And do
the
the
doors
doors.
and do the awning as well, so.
Correct.
I'd be inclined to, for someone to make a motion to accept the changes with the exception of the lighting of the sign on the awning. So if someone would like to make a motion?
I move approval of the improvements at 401 West Woodard with the condition of returning for some information, further information about the sign. Everything else is fine to proceed.
A second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the motion is carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll get that paperwork to you to, so you can go to the next step.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Item E. Excuse me. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request for covering existing awning on the facade of 130 East Woodard, case number 2022-009H. Ms. Dow?
This is a picture of the building that was formerly a restaurant, most recently Monet's Bistro, and before that Tupelo Honey. And at some point, the covering of that awning has been removed. And my guess is that they always intended to come back and cover it, but it just never got done, and now ownership has changed, and you've previously addressed this whole building, and now that awning is black and looks very nice, as you had previously approved. There is a new restaurant opening there now, and Marcus Petronicola is here, and he would like to propose adding a top to that so their guests at the restaurant could stand under it, and it would offer some protection. And that's a view from below. The framework's, already there. This is a historic photograph. Doesn't show a lot of detail other than it did exist. And then this is the colors that you had previously approved and that they are applying to the building. So they're requesting to do a cover for the awning, and it's talking about the restaurant. Oops, sorry. Go back to that, and if you'd like, Mr. Petronicola can come up and tell more about his plans and the materials that he would use.
All right, very good. Marcus?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you again. Hopefully you've been to the depot lately. The previously appointed colors, we think it's coming back to life, and as Donna mentioned, even the we've painted the structure you see above. The picture was taken before that. It's really starting to improve the overall look and feel. From the historic picture, you see where the awning used to be in the back of the building on the railroad track side, and that was taken down some time ago. This building, formerly known as Tupelo, is 130 Woodard. It does have the structure for the awning in both back and front, and in fact, in the back, the awning still exists. We weren't able to discern what type of materials were originally used. So here was our thought process in terms of the materials. I had hoped to have some samples for you today, but that didn't work out. In the back, the awning exists, and there is corrugated metal covering that structure. So without knowing the original materials used, our thought was, well, maybe we should cover this portion with the same corrugated metal that exists currently in the back of the building. Again, that was our thought process, to keep that consistent without knowing what the original materials were. So our request is to cover this awning, restore it to its original shape, and use that material for the covering.
That awning in the back of the building, that's not original, is it?
I don't believe it is.
Yeah. Would you have drainage problems using corrugated metal up there?
According to so I bounced this off a number of folks, from the architect to the contractors, and the consensus was that would be sufficient in directing the water away from the building as well.
Okay. And there will be flashing up against the building, I assume?
There will, yes.
And the corrugated would be painted black like the frame.
That's right.
I'm assuming that standing seam metal would be a lot more expensive.
It would be, that's right.
Wishful thinking.
Especially now.
I have a suspicion that the original covering on those awnings was wood with probably tar paper or something over top of it.
It may have been. I tried to look and see what that was from the pictures. There's just not enough detail to figure it out.
The black metal now looks really good. Looks really good.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. You mean the repainted?
On the existing frame.
Great. That's what we want to hear.
And we're looking forward to the restaurant opening.
Yes.
So, just as an aside, I know we're not talking about restaurants, but they had their soft opening on Sunday. It was really fantastic.
It was?
Yeah, they're kind of open. I don't know if they're really open, but we plan on eating there after this.
Pardon me?
They're taking reservations
Oh.
during their soft opening.
Excellent, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry.
How do we reach them?
How do you reach them?
Go knock on the business door.
I don't know. They have a number
All
somewhere.
right, all silliness aside, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the alterations to the sign at 130 East Woodard awning to cover with corrugated metal painted black.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, the motion's carried.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, item number F. Someone's been waiting here patiently.
Yes.
Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to paint the facade and add vinyl window signage for 327 West Main Street. Case number 2022-011H. Ms. Dow?
Our final case of the day. We have a new business going in here, and Kara Shires is here representing the property owner. And this is the original detail, and that's the colors they presented. And Ms. Anderson, that is colors they have chosen also. It's not on our current chart, but it's just colors they chose. And then Rachel took a mock-up and I think did a very nice job to try to help convey what the request was. So hopefully we got that right, but you can see the existing in the tiny picture in the corner. And then, just use one of the tools like on Sherwin-Williams' side, I think. So it's, it portrays what it might look like with those colors. And then they also asked about window signage, window lettering, vinyl, because they are trying to open. I'll let Ms. Shires tell more about that, but I have not received that. I think there was a timing issue, and so they may not be able to get that by their opening.
So all they're asking you to do right now is to paint the facade?
That's all we have documentation on.
Okay. And is there someone here to speak? Good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, I'm Kara Shires. The only difference here would be, I think where it shows white around those little windows above the big windows and door would be green also, just so they don't stand out as
Around the
white.
door?
Around the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little windows above the door, that would be trimmed in white. I think it is 2 layers right now, so she has the green, but it would continue to where that white trim is. And then that doesn't show the new, there's an awning that was put on previously to when we purchased it that matches the Blackbird. So that's where we got the black for the doors to kind of tie that nice awning that was already there in. And then the store owner was previously at the building down the block. What block was that?
It's the 421.
Yes. And she had just a vinyl, I don't know the font, but it's just kind of scripted and simple. And so for now, she's going to just put that on the wall. There it is. So you can see the serendipity on the bottom left, well, both windows. She's requesting that in vinyl just to put on the window. And I do think in the future she's wanting to do something similar to Blackbird Cafe out of metal and put up on the awning, but that's to be done later. So just a fresh coat of paint to brighten it
Before I
up.
make sure that I understand what you're planning on doing here. Are you just using the green down at the bottom
The green will go
On the
around
first
all
floor?
the window trim.
and the window frames on the second floor?
Yes.
Now, the cement accent that's up above the windows, it looks like you're leaving a keystone or something in the center of each of those, the same color as the base color for the building?
Yeah, so this isn't exactly it. Right now, there are 3 colors. There's a brick color, and then there's the little trim detail, those little, what are they, corbels that stick out from the brick at the top. Yes, there you go. There's 3 colors. So there's the gold, and then the white, and then the mustard brown around the windows. So we were planning on just doing the whole building in one color, all the Greek vanilla, and then just having the green where the mustard is in this picture. So
I'm
just
a big-
2 colors.
I'm a big fan of using accent colors on the trim.
Okay. You want a third color? We could pull a third
I'd
color.
like to see a little more of the green used up above.
Okay. Yeah, that might look nice.
Yeah, perhaps just in the keystones in
Uh-huh.
the middle of each windows. And
To
maybe.
put a little more
at the-
on there.
At the top, where those structures are hanging down,
Okay.
maybe some green up in there.
And over those top windows, those little eyebrow details.
Yeah.
That would look good. I don't know the exact words.
No, but that's a beautiful detail,
Uh-huh.
as George mentions, and it would certainly be appropriate to
Accent
give
it.
it more punch.
I agree. I totally agree.
And we've had several building owners accentuate those details with
Mm-hmm.
different colors. I think one of our board members has done that, and the effect is really nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you suggest a third color or just more of the same green?
Just more of the green.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
Don't go
I like
overboard
that.
with it, but, you know.
Right.
I wouldn't add an additional color, though, do you think, Mr. Mayor?
Too busy.
No.
I agree. Okay.
I have one more question. The building, as it is now,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't architecturally have much differentiation between it and the building next to it.
Correct.
And when you come down the street now, there's kind of a, if you'll pardon my word, noxious contrast in the colors. When this building is painted, I know from looking at your color that it's certainly going to blend in better with the one next to it. Is there the intent, though, that background brick color would in fact match the building next to it?
I don't think it would match it.
But more compatible?
More compatible to it, yes.
Any other questions?
I agree with the contrast, though, to do it all, that Greek villa would just kind of wash out the detail of that, so I like that.
It's a pretty color.
I agree.
Donna, did you say that these colors aren't on the historical list? That's my only
They're
concern
just
administratively.
I think we picked them from what Scooter sent. That were the, I think they
were
are
on
on the
okay.
historical
Donna gave
list.
you. That's my
Yes,
only-
because I had others chosen, and we just tried to find the
To find the
closest
one
to
that was
those
compatible with the
that were
two.
on the list.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I
Perfect.
just,
And I
as an
think they're
administrator.
in keeping with what you would expect to see.
Right.
On
in
an
a
historic
building.
building.
And I think what you did was go with a different brand, but look for the
That's
same
right.
colors.
I think that's
Yeah,
right.
so-
That's
Okay,
fine.
we're there.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you.
Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the request to paint the facade at 327 West Main.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Linda?
Oh, sorry, aye.
Opposed?
Should I have said
Opposed?
with the
There
addition
being none,
of-
Oh, do you want, Benton, do you want us to add to the motion the trim color being extended? Or we're of an understanding, we're talking about the facade,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Are
Okay.
you okay with that?
And my question was the signage. We did see the picture in the other that indicates what their signage was. Is that something that you want to
Look at it.
discuss, or,
We can
And-
look at it at a later date if you'd like.
okay,
Right,
And it's vinyl, right?
right, the
It's just
temporary
vinyl.
signage.
it's just vinyl, yes.
It would be some permanent signage that we would want to revisit. for
Right,
sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
She is working on getting a mock-up for the next meeting, so pretty quickly, but in
Perfect.
the meantime, so they can open,
Yeah.
go ahead and get that on there, and Hanging T, I think, is gonna do that for her.
Perfect,
And then come back and present the.
Okay.
thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So going back to where I was, those opposed, there being none, then the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 3, staff updates. Receive report and hold a discussion regarding staff updates.
I'll just mention a couple of things really quickly. The training that we had previously discussed, it is now available virtually. So if anybody else would like to take advantage of that, it's $75 to be able to watch from your office or home. And so you can see Rachel or I and tell us about that. And then the design guidelines that I mentioned today that we have adhered to, we will send you a link to those so you can refer to them at any time. They were linked in the document, but we'll go ahead and send that in the sign ordinance for you, so you can refer back to it at any time.
And Donna, it's really helpful to have those relevant parts there. It gives us the language we need, and it makes things clearer for the applicant, even if there's not going to be an issue. So I like that a lot. And, and also, I'll convey to Councilman Hander, but please keep conveying to him how much we appreciate whatever historic information can be provided to us about a building. That's really valuable. And maybe Brian is the person to ask about those medallions as well.
Yeah, we can ask
Those
him.
medallions were added in the last remodel. Those are not
Okay.
historic.
That's
So
my
I was gonna go down and have a
recall
look.
too.
So
The
that would
key
have
did
been
it.
really recently then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm good with that.
Do
I'm
you
good with
think
that.
that, I think when Dean Cheney owned that building, I'm
They
pretty
put it
sure
in.
that he's the one that put.
To
those
put
on
the
there.
medallions on, so they probably pop right off, huh?
Yeah,
That's what I recall.
Thank you.
okay, so
Thank
you,
I
Donna.
texted Dean earlier during that, and I asked him if they were original, he said no, but they look good.
Thank you for the answer to that information.
That's easy.
Funny. That's
All right.
So just
Can I
just
have
look
a
it up.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Do I need a second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is closed.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.